Okay, today we are working on the 1994 Cherokee again, and today's project is going to be the steering column. The entire steering column needs to be replaced. I'll show you what's going on the inside, but there's really no replacing it. Some bearings fell out, or there's no fixing it, bearings fell out. So I got a parts Jeep that I'm gonna swap it over to. It's a really straightforward swap, so there's not too much with this. I'll try to keep the video pretty short. Let me go ahead and show you what we're looking at. Okay, well, before we get into that, let's look inside the Jeep and the dog and see what's going on here. So this is our steering column. The horn button's already been removed. It's been like this, but here's the problem. Now, look closely. It's not moving. It's moving right here. It's not moving back here. It's very common for these old GM steering wheels to feel like this, very sloppy, because of these 3 or 4 Torx bolts that are all the way at the bottom of the tilt column, way back in here, that come out. They come loose, and then the whole steering column does wobble like this, but you'll see it moving back here. Now this one in particular, it's tight back there. All the movement is right up in here in between these pieces. And if you look actually in here, you can tell that all of the ball bearings have fallen out internally. So this steering column is now trash. Also, the ignition key is really choppy, and it feels like it's got 2 or 3 extra positions than it should, and the key doesn't really want to go in and out a bunch. Now, the whole thing's scrapped. It's easier. I've got a parts Jeep, so I'm gonna swap it out. It's not really worth me trying to rebuild the steering and replace the ignition. Just not worth it. So we're gonna replace the steering column altogether. Now the first step with this guy is just gonna be to remove the lower valence here, whatever you call this guy beneath the dash. It's sitting right there. It's a bunch of Phillips head screws that are right in the top that go into this guy all across the way. And if it's pretty factory and it's never been touched, you'll have some bolts on the underside holding the bottom of it down. Now you're also gonna have a bunch of electrical connections velcroed to it or bolted down to it, and then maybe a vent here for your HVAC. And that'll basically be it. There's some lights attached to it as well. So get all that out, remove that. Then on the underside, or on the inside, you've also got, let's see, it's back here behind this foam. You can see the bolt hole. There's 2 bolts. They're 13 millimeter, probably 1/2 would work as well. One there and one on the top side for the column. And then there's also going to be, there's also going to be 2 15 millimeter bolts on the side of the steering column. These are fine, do not remove those. You've got this guy and then the one over here that you got to take off. And then there's something in the engine bay. Now as far as inside the Jeep, you've got a bunch of electrical connections that are bolted or attached, clipped into the steering column. You're going to need to remove all of those. I probably won't go through every one individually, but know that you got a bunch of electrical stuff that you do need to remove. Be careful, take your time. If you're doing it when it's cold out, maybe get the blow dryer out to heat things up so that all your plastic doesn't break. And that'll be everything on the inside. Now, in the engine bay, you can see that I have already removed the airbox, and that's sitting, well, it's sitting on top of the Camaro, and the other pieces are sitting right there. Now there's one bolt in the engine bay that you need to remove. You can't see it, so you can see it now. It's that guy. It's a 13 millimeter again, and then the entire shaft. On these earlier model Jeeps, they're not collapsible or telescoping like the later models, so you're just gonna have to unbolt it and leave it there for now, and then when you go to remove the entire column through the firewall, you can just pull it straight off by the steering wheel. And then install is the reverse of disassembly, right? So I probably am not going to make another video. I'm going to try to keep this quick and clean for editing purposes, but that's everything on these Cherokees for replacing the steering wheel. All right, and that's it. The new steering column is mounted in. I just need to put the valence or that lower cover back on, but that's it, and everything works on the ignition. Great, thanks for watching.